Good evening. This is To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. Crime in the area around the state capitol is up, and we have the numbers to prove it. Sacramento police just responded to our public records request. They handed over reports made within this blue area detailing hundreds of crimes in the last few years. This list includes everything from carjackings to purse snatchings. And as our Jeannie Nguyen reports, it's changing the way the business is done.
It's one of the most famous places in California, the state capitol building. And nearby,
there's a strong community that really loves this shop.
Judy Tizer and her sister Jennifer Kay run the All Spicery. And while business has been going relatively well, the sisters say the area has been difficult for small businesses.
We had a very good neighbor next door, and they were done. They just didn't want to put up with it anymore, so they left. And so now we have a vacant space next door.
Kay and Tizer believe it's because of a recent spike in crime around the capitol area.
Broken doors, broken windows, lots of rocks.
ABC 10 asked Sacramento police through a records request just how many break-ins, burglaries, and robberies have happened around the perimeter of the state capitol from 2020 to today. In that time frame, data shows police received 300 reports of burglary ranging from businesses to vehicles, 84 reports of robbery from a person or business, and 71 reports of theft.
Right here around this block near 15th and N Street, Sacramento police responded to reports of 30 crimes over the last 3.5 years. But if you expand that search by several blocks in either directions, including the Capitol, police have responded to a total of 460 robberies, burglaries, thefts, and carjackings within that same amount of time.
Our research shows in 2020, police received 118 reports of crime around the Capitol. In 2021, 126 reports, and the number continues to grow in 2022 with 156 reports. So far this year, they've received about 60 reports. With these numbers, Tizer and Kay say it's the reason why they close by 5 p.m.
We don't stay open at night because we don't feel safe down here, especially we have a lot of female employees and we don't want them down here alone in the evenings.
ABC 10 asked Sacramento police what is being done to bring these numbers down and how can people protect themselves. A department spokesperson says it has 2 full-time robbery and burglary teams to investigate crimes throughout the city. The department also advises people to never walk alone at night, use and park in well-lit areas, and to keep valuable items out of plain view. But even with this advice, Kay and Tizer have little faith things will get better.
It hasn't happened in the last 5 years, 6 years. It's not probably going to happen anytime soon.
I wish you could be more hopeful.
Jeannie Nguyen with us right now. A lot of data that she was sifting through today. What really stood out to you, though, in all that data?
Alex, we found that there was an average of about 11 crimes per month. Now, sometimes that number was in the 20s, specifically in the month of May 2020. There were protests following George Floyd's death. The department had 29 reports in that month alone. Yeah, we know a lot of people were down in that area at that time. All right, Jeannie, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And if you want to look at the robberies, the reports handed out by the Sacramento police, we are posting a link on our website. All you have to do is at abc10.com/links. To the point, and all you have to do is look for that links mentioned article. Now, if someone breaks into your car, that's considered a comprehensive claim if you do want to take that to your insurance. I asked an insurance expert about this today. He said it is considered damage to your vehicle while not in motion. And in California, those claims are not chargeable, meaning that you should not see your premium go up. But if someone steals property from your car, like that dry cleaning you have in the back or a laptop, that may require a claim for your property insurance. And it is considered personal property away from home. And these are considered chargeable claims on most homeowners' insurance policies. So you could expect to see that premium increase. Now, you'll want to carefully consider your options before filing a claim. This could really impact your policy given our current climate.
Companies are scaling back. So insurance companies that have policies in force right now are keeping a very clear eye on everyone's policy, on who's putting in claims and who's not and what's going on. So whereas normally I would say, if you have the claim, you put the claim in. Because of the current insurance marketplace, if you have a claim and it's something, I hate to put it this way, if it's something that you can probably absorb the cost on, you're probably better off not to file the property claim. And they want to get out of one of those risks because they're trying to shrink their exposure in that area. You'll probably be the one to go.
Yeah, Carl says a good rule of thumb right now is that if you can absorb the cost, then he recommends you do so. But if you're looking at thousands of dollars, then it might be worth it to just go ahead and file that claim. And other top stories that we're following tonight. Carlos Dominguez, the suspected serial killer in Davis, was back in court. A jury is determining if the former UC Davis student is competent to stand trial. 6 people, including Dominguez's ex-girlfriend, testified today.
He had said that the devil was talking to him in his dreams.
Did it ever occur to you that he might have a mental illness?
Yes.
Did you ever talk to him about that?
Yes.
Okay, and how did that go?
He was not very receptive to it at all. He thought he was okay.
Other witnesses described seeing Dominguez talk to himself, saying he heard voices and staring off into the distance. A 34-year-old man is facing charges for starting multiple fires in Yuba County. Investigators say 3 of the fires made up June's Scott fire, which burned more than 100 acres. The man, James Matthew Fisk, was arraigned yesterday. He's also charged with several acts of felony domestic violence and could face more than 50 years in prison if he's convicted of all charges. And tonight, a father is being called a hero after shooting an intruder. Our Roxana Leah shows us what happened and if the father had the right to shoot.
At 1 a.m. early Sunday, Alonzo Brown began knocking at the door of this apartment in Carmichael. In the surveillance video, the scenario quickly escalates to him trying to beat down the door of a family he doesn't even know. The family, who did not want to appear on camera, says it then led to gunshots.
Shot 3 holes into our bed where I was laying. One right above the head of the bed where my pillow was. And by the time my husband had put out his 4 rounds, 2 hit him, he dropped, and 2 went into the tree behind him.
According to the Sacramento Sheriff's Office, Brown was looking for his girlfriend at the apartment.
Alonzo Brown started tracking his girlfriend, or what he thought was accurately tracking, on the cell phone, led him to an apartment complex on Fair Oaks Boulevard on the 8600 block. From there, he started banging on the door, tried to kick the door in, was unsuccessful, broke a window, saw somebody inside and tried to shoot at him.
Amar Gandhi says luckily the family's father, also a veteran, was legally armed and fired back to defend his family.
I know for a fact if my husband was not armed at the time, it would have been a totally different scenario. We would all be dead.
And although California does not have a stand your ground law, Sacramento attorney Mark Reichel says there's a version of it where residents can protect themselves. But there are 4 things that you need to follow.
Number 1, that the threat is imminent, okay, that it's not in the future, imminent, that it's now. Number 2, that there's violence, definite serious risk of great bodily injury or real harm coming to you. Okay. Number 3, that they've come in the house or are entering the house. And then finally, use no more force than is reasonably necessary.
The family says they've felt safe the entire time they've lived at the apartments. But because they were prepared, they were able to stop Brown from doing further damage.
This could have happened anywhere at any time to anybody. It doesn't happen just because, it happened because of the person who he was.
And if you can, install cameras around your home. It can help evidence as if anyone ever tries to break into your home. All right, coming up onto the point, an ABC 10 weather investigation. Is California wasting its water? We head to the Folsom Dam.
Heat and high pressure over to the east. That has increased our temperatures, but we are looking at a trough expected to arrive, bringing in some much cooler air. How low temperatures are expected to drop.
All right, time to get a check of your forecast. Carly with some good news on the way. We were hot today. Cooler temperatures on the way, though.
Yes, so much nicer. In the coming days, we're looking at a 5 to 10 degree temperature drop out there, and that'll actually be below average for a lot of spots. And right now in the Big Mountain backyard, you're probably still feeling the heat at your house, but we are looking at still very warm temperatures at this hour. Mid to upper 90s out there. Stockton at 98, 96 in Marysville, Tahoe at 80 degrees, sunny and hot day. And we did see highs right around 95 in Sacramento. That's Sac Executive Airport. Downtown numbers still waiting for those to come in, but we are looking at temperatures closer to about 100 degrees. We saw that in Roseville today. Stockton at 196 in Modesto, 84 in Truckee for the high. And we do have the high pressure system still sitting over the desert southwest and affecting us. That monsoonal flow of moisture continues there, and a lot of heat for areas of Southern California as they are seeing watches and warnings in effect. Now this high will begin to shift east, and the low here is going to dig further south, bringing in just enough cool air to drop our temperatures an additional 5 degrees tomorrow, and then dropping them even maybe down to the lower 90s for a lot of valley spots. We're seeing mostly clear skies now, but we will get more winds pushing through, which is also helping in dropping those temperatures and keeping them pretty consistent through the week. 15 to 20 mile per hour winds in the valley, 21 in Fairfield. Then we move into Thursday, very similar, stronger winds over the Sierra Crest. And then toward the weekend, we'll continue to see some of those winds pushing through. Now, we are looking at temperatures tomorrow, right around those mid to upper 90s. They're a lot warmer in the foothills spots. And then toward the Bay Area, much cooler, mid to upper 60s, San Francisco and areas of Oakland, 90 in Vacaville, the Sacramento and San Joaquin Valley, low 90s out there, 96 in Woodland, 95 in Folsom. And then the 10-day forecast, well, we're going to look at temperatures in the low 90s for the next few days, with mid to low 90s continuing even into next week. Alex.
Thanks, Carly. After the break, is California wasting its water? The ABC 10 weather team investigates. Is California wasting its water? That's one of the top questions that we're answering all this week on To The Point. The ABC 10 weather team is investigating where our water is going and if we're wasting it. Tonight, Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods explains what's happening with our water above ground in our reservoirs.
We built our water system in California principally around scarcity. 2 out of 3 years, we don't have enough water.
To address that scarcity, California built one of the most elaborate water conveyance systems in the world, capturing snowmelt runoff, storing it above and below ground, then moving it vast distances. Without it, California wouldn't be the economic powerhouse it is today. But that system is being pushed to meet multiple needs, from water storage to flood control.
Several vehicles stranded.
Plus recreation, hydropower, and the environment.
So we ask a lot of these reservoirs, but our reservoirs are principally built as water supply structures, and that's the way we operate them, except in the winter, right? I mean, this is one of the things that everybody forgets, that in the winter, let's take this wet year that we're having in 2023. We're going to end up with more water than we know what to do with in the fall. And I know what we're going to do is we're going to have to let that water go, so we make room for potential floods next winter.
Creating tension between flood managers and people wanting to see a full reservoir for water supply.
So much of how that's operated is based on manuals and calendars that were put into place 30, 40, 50 years ago. And things change.
Daniel is a third-generation farmer in the Central Valley. He, like many other farmers, relies on water coming from Northern California.
If you look back, we have cycles. We have wet cycles and dry cycles in the state, and that's what a lot of the reservoirs and canal systems were built for, was to help manage that.
But with a growing population, these water supply structures are starting to get stretched close to their breaking point. Drew Lassard with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation that runs Folsom says this concern is guiding managers to rethink reservoir operations.
Where do we get to that point where we can ask no more of it? Probably we're getting close to that, but we're still looking at ways that we can make and gain efficiencies.
Drew says part of making Folsom more efficient will be expanding its capacity.
The Corps has authorization to raise Folsom Dam 3 feet.
Making room for even more storage. Another project in the works, updating operation manuals. These will rely on improving forecasts, giving reservoir managers more certainty about how much water to let out and how much water they can keep in.
It's sort of the software. The hardware has been built, and now it's how do we work the software on how we route things.
Folsom is sometimes called the little dam that could. Even beyond flood control and water supply, it's also the first responder when it comes to sending water south towards the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta to help keep the water fresh and not salty. This is quite possibly one of the biggest bones of contention for water wasted out to sea.
That seems to be the bigger issue that I see, is usually environmental groups aren't that eager to work with farmers or look at growers that are south of the Delta as big evil corporations.
Daniel says farmers are constantly put in a corner, blamed for wasting water, but he feels there are still solutions out there.
I think a reservoir in the right place would be a great tool for us to use.
An American River Basin study found that more upstream reservoirs closer to the base of the Sierra
might in fact be the answer to some of our climate whiplash, with more rain instead of snow falling in the Sierra.
One project being considered is the Alder Reservoir.
It's strategically located so that when there's large rain events, we could be capturing that water directly, or as the snow melts, we're also able to capture it too and relieve some of that operational pressure on Folsom.
Helping with water supply, reducing flood risk, and providing cold water releases for certain fish species.
As we saw this past winter, Folsom was releasing water because there's just not enough storage capacity in Folsom. So this would be able to allow this water to be captured versus spilled where it wouldn't be able to be usable.
The idea for this reservoir has been on the books since 1916, when a lot of agricultural growth was happening in El Dorado County. People needing water went looking upstream.
So this would be a part of a system of reservoirs along the South Fork of the American River. The bottom part would be Folsom Reservoir, and as you go upstream, there were numerous, up to 16 reservoirs planned at that time.
This is the only one still being considered due to its location with a deep canyon perfect for storing cold water, which will also help reduce evaporation loss.
The system that we have in place that really sort of began in the gold rush and is where we are today, what I would set is the highest priority. We are facing a rapid change in climate. The atmosphere is taking water away from us. So we are going to have to adapt to increasing scarcity.
And the weather team's investigation continues tomorrow with a look at our groundwater and what can be done to store more water. All right, send in the drones. CAL FIRE is now officially using artificial intelligence to help fight fires. More than 1,000 high-definition cameras are positioned across the state to help spot fires. And once smoke is detected, CAL FIRE sends a drone in to see how many resources are needed to be deployed. They can even start backfires.
Start a backfire in which when the main fire then gets to that line, there's no more fuel left. Historically, we go out there and we have troops that are actually walking the line and putting fire on the ground, creating that buffer. With this, we can do it far more efficiently and far more accurately.
This is all part of the new AI program in CAL FIRE's Nevada Yuba Placer unit. And very exciting news following a story that we first brought you, the very first episode of To the Point, all the way back in August. Two Northern California companies are 3D printing homes. And this month, the company based in Redding held a ribbon cutting ceremony for its first completed home. Emergent says this is the first ever on-site 3D concrete printed home in California. It will provide shelter for a park's caretaker and their family. Emergent's goal is to create more durable, energy-efficient, disaster-resilient homes.
We're changing an industry. We're changing the way people live. And we're creating a new generation of workers.
The world is watching us here in Little Redding, California, as we bring this solution not only here, but then expanding it to other areas in disaster recovery.
Emergent is constructing more homes. Those attending the ribbon cutting ceremony included people from Oregon and even North Carolina interested in whether 3D printed concrete homes could work in their communities. Next, on To the Point, jailing the unhoused. What you had to say about our story from yesterday. The ABC 10 weather team investigation, water wasted, continues right here at 6:30 tomorrow. This winter has taken the state out of drought after 3 years. But now many are begging the question, what are we doing to save this water? Reservoirs have been forced to make some major releases, and that water could be stored elsewhere. Meteorologist Carly Gomez will join us right here tomorrow on To the Point. Last night, we reported on jailing the unhoused. It's the new controversial anti-camping ban that's about to go into effect in San Diego. The city will use what they call progressive enforcement to get the unhoused off the streets and into shelters. If people refuse to go into a shelter, they could be arrested. Many of you weighed in online about this story. One viewer writing in, great law. The unhoused shouldn't have the choice to refuse housing and keep living on the streets. I also think there should be a curfew for the homeless to leave the streets at night. Another viewer says, I'm with San Diego. We need to get the homeless off the streets here in Sacramento. And I do want to mention there are people against this rule. Someone saying if they break a real law, then arrest them. Otherwise, it's harassment, if you ask me. I don't like seeing them either, but I recognize they are human beings like me. You already know you can keep your comments coming in. You can text us at 916-321-3310, or you can always shoot me an email at tothepoint@abc10.com. I'll see you tomorrow. Open the windows. It's going to be a nice, cool night. Have a great evening. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.